CJS106 Investigative Report Writing. These are the instructions for the Week 8 Traffic Crash Reporting. This is an instructional video on how to complete the traffic crash report that is actually due in Week 9's homework assignment. You'll be provided with several crash scenarios. Pick one. Your instructions are to complete a crash investigation starting with an information sheet, which I'll show you in a few moments, a narrative, as we've been working on in the discussion posts and in the classroom work, and a simple diagram, and I'll show you one in a moment. The scenarios have the date and time of the crash, the conditions of the roadway, the weather, and the lighting description. You will also be given information on which direction the streets run in and if injuries were sustained in each crash or not. You will interview the operator, occupants, and witnesses in the crash scenario and receive information that will be detailed in the scenario. Information on the operators, the witnesses, and the vehicles, including the insurance company names and policy numbers, will be included within the scenario or at the bottom of the scenario, like this one, in block 4, Mary Jones and Sally Plains. Your instructions will include completing a traffic crash data sheet and a narrative report using your investigative skills and your conclusions. You will also be asked to list the operator and the vehicle who you, based on your investigation, conclude is responsible for the crash. You are asked to draw a legible diagram of the scene. Your narrative will be simple. It will include the vehicle activity before the crash and how the crash occurred. Basic statements from the operator of the first vehicle, the operator of the second vehicle, any occupants, and any witnesses should be included in your narrative. You can use abbreviations such as V1 for vehicle 1, like this one right here, and op number 1 for example, and P1 for pedestrian 1. Within your narrative, you can use that. Then you will have a brief conclusion based on the information in the scenario and who you believe is at fault for the crash. After you've completed the crash narrative, save that document. Then move on to the traffic crash form. This is an Excel document. Enter the date and time manually in the top left-hand corner. The severity will have 3 options in a drop-down box: fatal, injury, or property damage. Location will be entered manually. Conditions has a drop-down box: clear, sunny, rainy, snow, sleet, and ice, and cloudy. Road conditions has a drop-down box. Light conditions has a drop-down box. Posted mile per hour also has a drop-down box, as does the number of vehicles and the manner of impact. In the manner of impact, you'll have front to rear, backing, head-on, angle, or other. Front to rear, backing, and head-on are self-explanatory. Angle would include 2 vehicles where one hits the other on the side or at some other angle. Other would include a vehicle hitting a pedestrian or fixed object like a telephone pole. Please check the appropriate block at the top of the traffic unit to indicate if it is a vehicle, a pedestrian, or a non-contact vehicle. Fill out the operator information in this section based on the information provided in the scenario. If the owner is the same as the operator in this block, you can write same in the owner section. If the vehicle is a pedestrian, you would write not applicable, or NA. If the vehicle is parked and it is crashed, for example, if the vehicle number 2 is parked when it is hit, labeling it parked unoccupied would be appropriate. It is the appropriate entry for the operator information, and then you would enter the owner's information and the vehicle's information in the below boxes. If the vehicle is towed due to disabling damage or other enforcement actions such as DUI, you would check the vehicle towed after you completed the upper section of the traffic crash form, and that's in this area right here. The traffic unit operator, pedestrian information, date of birth, and gender are blocked off in this section because that information is in the above boxes up here. None would include occupants that are not wearing seatbelts or witnesses or pedestrians. Restraints have several options, and they have drop-down boxes. There is no restraint, lap, shoulder, etc. Unknown is for people that do not participate in your investigation and refuse to answer questions. None would include occupants that are not wearing seatbelts or witnesses or pedestrians. For your seating position, the driver is always number one because they are at the front left position of the vehicle. Not applicable would be for witnesses or bicyclists. And this is right here in the seating position block that also has drop-down blocks. For airbags, you have three choices: not deployed, deployed, or not applicable. Not applicable would be suitable for witnesses, pedestrians, or vehicles that were manufactured before the issue of airbags. For the roll, you have the driver, passenger, witness, bicyclist, or pedestrian. And those drop down here. Pick the appropriate role. If you have a witness, list them by name, by last name, first name, their address, and then put their date of birth in the same way, down in this section right here. You would do a VIN number for each vehicle, and you would add it to the appropriate block. That's actually up here for the vehicle make, etc. Gender is a drop-down box. It has male, female, or unknown. And injuries follow the CABCO scenario, which is K for fatal, A for severe injury, B for injury but returns to duty, C for suspected injury, and O for not injured or otherwise. After you've completed the traffic crash form, save this file. Then we move on to the diagram. Diagrams do not have to be works of art. This diagram was drawn with a pencil and ruler. A couple of things are necessary in any diagram. Not drawn to scale, written, like right here, should be written in a corner because obviously the diagram is not to scale. A north-facing arrow is important to orient the map in the proper direction. Once you have completed a legible diagram, save it or scan it and save that file. Submit all three files as your completed assignment. Take some time to look over this data form for a crash report. Make sure you enter all the detail as specifically as you can. This is an important exercise in investigative report writing because it works on getting details properly for when you have to testify in court, when you have to speak to a supervisor because somebody is unhappy about receiving a ticket for a traffic crash, or it comes up later, like if it's a fatal accident and this is the initial report and it comes up later years down the road. So make sure you get all the information in there correctly. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you do have some issues, please contact your instructor.